everyone. In this video, we are going to talk about the art of Asia and the Middle East. So we're going to start with India. Hopefully you guys all know where India is located. And the art of ancient India was influenced by two big religions. The first was Hinduism, which started in 2000 BCE, so that's about 3,000 years ago. And Hinduism isn't just a single religion, it's actually a lot of different related religions that are all kind of tied together under this one name. And Indian art was also influenced by the Buddhist religion. So Buddhism is actually a part of Hinduism. It started as kind of a reform movement, people who wanted to make some changes, and of course was started by the Buddha. And we know that that happened around 300 BCE, so about 2,300 years ago. So one of the first art forms to come out of the Hindu religion was a stupa. And a stupa, you can see it spelled up here, S-T-U-P-A, is a domed, not really a temple, it's a religious building. And it was meant for you to go and walk around, and that became a form of meditation. So you didn't usually go inside the stupa, you kind of walked around the outside of the stupa. And this became a really common architectural building. So you saw this type of building in India, and then you started to see it in other places like China. And this style and this religion really spread outside of India to other parts of the world. So moving on from India, China is known for quite a few different types of art, and the one we're going to focus on in class is brush painting. And sumie is the Japanese version, but they both use the same material, so ink and brushes. And we're going to make those calligraphic lines. And a lot of these paintings were related to nature and to Buddhism. So you see a lot of natural landscapes, often with some like quotes from poetry in them, which is why we are doing our own quotes and our own natural landscapes. And then the Chinese are really famous for their ceramics, and this was true thousands of years ago, and it's still true today. And the term fine china actually comes from this type of ceramic, which they're really famous for. So ceramics, if you don't know, are just made from clay. You heat that clay to a really high temperature, and you get a hard piece of ceramic. And so they had this clay called porcelain, and it makes this really beautiful type of ceramic, and that is what they're most famous for. And then here's a picture of some brush paintings. So we have very natural elements here, mountains, cherry blossom branches. Those are all really common subjects for brush painting. And then here is a ceramic vase, a porcelain vase. We have some really traditional decorations on here with dragons and some abstract designs. And there is a little bit of blue glaze in there, so blue and white is a really common color for these vases. And then there's actually some Islamic-inspired designs, but we're not going to get into that. So just focus on the fact that this is an example of a really nice Chinese vase that's made out of that porcelain. And then here's another one. I said they really liked to use blue and white patterns. You can see that here. And so Japan has really similar artwork to China. They were really influenced by Buddhism when Buddhism reached the island of Japan. And so there's a lot of similarity between the art that you see in Japan and the art that you see in China. They are known for this particular type of architecture called the pagoda, and you can see a pagoda pictured here, and that's basically a religious building. So you would go into a pagoda if you were Buddhist. There might be, you might pray there, so it's going to be used really similar to other religious buildings. And then Japan is really famous for this type of print. And I know we haven't talked about what a print is, but it was a way of having it was a way of being able to reproduce an image again and again before we had photography. And Japan really influenced a lot of other countries with their printmaking styles. And then finally, Islam. So Islam started in exactly 572 AD. It was started by Muhammad. And fortunately, we have good records, so we know a lot about the start of the religion. And there are a couple of different artistic mediums and styles that are associated with Islam. So the first is using what's called epigraphic writing. You don't need to know that term. Just know that it is really, really big writing that's used on buildings. And so it's writing that almost becomes decoration. And Islam is also really famous for having beautifully illuminated Qurans. So the Quran is the holy book, and they would have pages that were painted and decorated and really fancy. And then finally, we have mosques. So mosques are going to be your religious building if you are Islamic or if you are a Muslim. And they're, again, like other religious buildings, you would go in there to attend services and to pray. And they all have a really distinctive style. There's often a lot of domes, and you usually have a minaret somewhere, which in some places somebody still goes and stands up there and actually sings out the call to prayer, so when it's time to pray. But in a lot of places now, there's just a loudspeaker that plays a recording of the call to prayer. So that is it. That is our really basic introduction to Asian art.